have a weekend free. The weather's not too terrible. It's a bit cold, but it's not terrible. I'm going to have a look at this, which is the wiring diagram for this car. I'm going to show you some of the problems that we're having with this one. I've been told that it's straightforward, and I'm sure it normally is. The trouble is, the wiring in the car, the wiring on this diagram, and the guide supplied for the standard colours by the supplier of the wiring loom, they don't all line up properly. Let me show you what I mean. This is the only wiring diagram I've been able to find for the LD10. Apparently this is the one. I will say all the connection points do seem to line up with what's on our car. What's different is the colour code. This is a standard code, I'm told. I don't know personally. It's got your legend up here to tell you what each thing is. And I thought I'd start off by looking at one of the ones that's confusing me a bit, which is the coil. The coil is here, the distributor's here. We have one white wire coming in from ignition, and we have a white with a black trace going over to the distributor. In the car, I do have one white wire with an eyelet on the end, and that does go down to the negative on the coil there. That seems to be right. There's a wire that looks like somebody's added there, which is white with a blue trace, which runs from the positive to the distributor. So that's okay, but then what's this wire for? This comes out of the same branch of the loom, and it's yellow with a brown trace. On this wiring diagram there is nothing that's yellow with a brown trace. So we go to the colour code, and yellow with a brown trace is overdrive. Our car doesn't have overdrive, so I thought, well, maybe I've seen the colour wrong, maybe it's yellow with orange. Maybe there's more yellows over the page. So I have no idea what that wire's for, which is fun. I'm going to go through what I can figure out. I'm going to connect anything up that makes sense and see what I'm left with. And Pat's just given me a hand sorting out the fuel filter. So we've had that off and back on. The reason for that is just down the side of here is a P-clip, which needs slacking off to get the wire into it, and the nut is just there, which you can't get to without taking this off. And that's a two-person job because it's mounted right down at the bottom, so it's sort of, when you're outside the car, it's about here, and I physically can't get my arms all the way around both sides. So Pat ended up in here doing the nuts from the inside of the car. There isn't really a better place to put it, so that's where it is. So this wire, get the right thing, this wire with the black plastic sheath, that sheath runs pretty much exactly for the route from here down there to the oil pressure switch. And the wire on this one is yellow with a black trace. Now, I don't see the oil pressure switch at all on this diagram, which is a bit strange. So I can't tell you what it should be on there. And on here, yellow with a black trace. Yeah. This colour code is not really very useful. And this diagram is also not great. Oh well, we shall persist. The next challenge here is working out which ones of these connect where. All of these loose ones here go up to the voltage regulator. This is going to be difficult for me to figure out because I can't trust the information that I've got to tell me what's correct here. I'm going to have to find a wiring colour code that's correct for this loom, because clearly the one I have is incorrect. I also can't really trust the wiring diagram that I've got because of course these colours don't relate to it. But what I can do is a bit of common sense. So on these sections here you have bullet connectors and colours that match. So I can at least connect those sections. This is the piece that runs down to the chassis down there, and then this is the piece that runs into the car. So I already know what some of these colours are for, and I know where they should connect. It's just a game of connecting the colours until you get as many as you can. That one is. There's a few slightly unusual ones, like this is 2 connectors in at one end and it's a single out the other. But that's okay, we just have one matching yellow with blue. Oh, I tell a lie. That's actually a double connector, so there'll be another yellow with blue somewhere, I guess. I hope. That one's a green with white. It's a red with green. That's another one where I've got 2 wires that are plain green going in and just one plain here. What else? Ah yes, this one, the crimped on bullet actually pulled off the end of this wire, so I need to get some more crimps to put another one of those on. That would normally be in there. I've got 2 matching wires here. So that's the common sense bit out of the way. Now then, I have some wires left over and I'm not sure where they should go. So for example, I have a red with a black trace there with no connector. I have 2 reds with green traces there and a single one here with no connector. But this could be in another section of the loom. We do have this piece. That's the... This one is the chassis junction, so this end goes right down to the bottom of the car. Spurring off from this, I've got things like, I'm pretty sure this is the starter motor, I'm pretty sure this one's the dynamo, and I'm not sure what this one is yet. This section of wiring here that comes up from the bottom, I think this is lights related, so I would have expected that to connect up here somewhere, but who knows. I've moved to the back of the car because I'm a little bit stuck on the front. And here we are in the back of the boot. This is on the driver's side. I've pushed the wiring loom up through the holes in the boot floor there. And I've connected the wires that I have connectors for. All of these other wires, these bullets, do match. I've got the same number of wires for each section. The only thing is, I'm missing these connector blocks. They aren't provided. I'm going to have to buy a whole bunch more of those. Here in the front of the car, all of these wires that are remaining do seem to join up. Again though, like at the back, I don't have enough of these connectors. I'm going to have to get some more, because there's more wires to connect than there are connectors there, which is very annoying. Down here, this block that I'm just wiggling there, one of the connectors doesn't actually want to stay connected, so I'm going to have to address that. That one's quite difficult to do, the access is very poor, and I can't figure out what's supposed to be going on with these wires, which I believe are for the horn. There seems to be wires in the wrong place for the connector, so I need to do some research on that one. There is one bit of old wiring here. This is to the dynamo, which is this thingy, and this is a good reminder of why I can't just copy what was in. The dynamo wiring here is labelled with these little paper tags, and that tells me these wires went straight to here, the voltage regulator box. This one's going to give me a bit of a headache, because while these wires are cut to specific lengths, so I can see roughly where they fit in here, because of the colour code being the way it is, I don't know which one's supposed to go where. I'm going to have to find the correct colour code for this harness, because what I've got doesn't work for this car. We haven't even ventured in to what's going on with the dashboard. There's still a few old wires in here which are still connected to a few items just to help with working out what goes where, but there's still a lot to do, and I'm steadily losing my patience with this job. It's getting on a bit today, and I'm going to have to pack up, unfortunately, but this bit under here is the brake switch. Where the red is, there is the old wiring, and then the braided section is the new wiring. I don't think the brake switch actually works, so I'm going to pull that out and clean that up. So that means getting the car in the air to do that. A bit further forwards, you can see the starter motor I refreshed. I have to connect the cable up to the pull lever, which is that bit, and I have to connect the new wire up, which is back there. I think I know which wire that is. Again, it's a jack the car up job, so I'm not going to do that today. Up top, I'm pretty sure these are for the dynamo, and I'm pretty sure this is for the starter motor. I previously guessed them the other way around, but I think that's what way round these actually are. I do also have this random wire here. I don't know what that's for. It might be an earth. I'm not sure. There's a lot less to do, and it's looking tidier, but I can't say I've enjoyed this job. I'm going to dig out some other wiring diagrams, colour charts, see if I can find something that actually matches what's in here. I'll see how we get on. Finally, some good wiring news. I was aware of this diagram. There's two Lanchester diagrams I'm aware of. The one I have been using, which has the wrong colours, and this one, which I thought was for the wrong car. I had another look at it, and I realised that actually the colour key along the bottom is the same as my car, and although this is listed for 46 and 47 10 HP cars, that probably covers what's in ours, because Lanchester didn't really change the wiring. The only trouble was, the only copy I had access to was a compressed JPEG, and I couldn't read some of the numbers at all. So I spent a few hours and I went over every line, every wire, deciphered every number, and now I know which wires go where. That's kind of a big deal. After that, I redid the whole thing in colour. As soon as I saw the wires in colour, the wiring on the car made sense. I can now see how far along I am with the job, what's left to do, and have taken almost all the guesswork out. So what a difference this made to the job. Having some instructions, it's massively helpful. Every single wire here is accounted for, and I've almost got everything connected. This one, which I wasn't sure of, I had a look inside the car. That's for the power socket, what would have been a cigarette lighter. That's an extra we had added. I have these 3 purple wires, and 2 go into one of these sockets and 1 goes in the other. What I'm not sure of is which ones go into which, because I don't know where these go exactly at the moment. I've not found the other end. I know what they're for, I just don't know where they go. I suspect this one with the red trace is the one on its own, and these 2 go together. But I don't know. I'm going to work through everything else, and then we'll find out when I've eliminated all the other things in here. But that looks a lot better. I'm happy to see that bit finally connected. Had to make one minor correction in this area. Originally, when I was trying to figure things out, I thought this one went down to the oil sender down there, because it's got the plastic sheathing, which normally means outside the car. This is yellow with a black trace. When I looked at the diagram, it told me that it was yellow with a brown trace for the oil sender. That matches up inside the car as well. I can find the other end of this inside the car, and it's about where the oil light would be. And the white one is for the coil. I had got that one correct. So I've just run these loose, and they're just loosely bolted in place. But I'll need Pat's help to take this off so I can get to that P-clip and just route everything properly in a bit. So, inside the car, that yellow with a brown trace is here, and this is all the stuff that goes up to the instruments. So I know that that one is where that needs to be. This one is actually one of the few that's tagged. This is one of the extras that we got for the car. And this is for the power socket. So that's that funny greyish coloured wire near the voltage regulator. And then of course you have a separate earth strap for it. So that one we can ignore for now. But there's a few I've still got to work through, like these with no ends on, these with connectors on. So we'll get there. It's just a bit of a plod at the moment. Some more decent progress made. I've got the wire through for the headlights. There's just one, and then you have a second one to actually earth it. And I've got the wire through for the side light. There is a slight problem though. We were going to use these as our indicators. So I was originally going to run this wire through. This is another one of the additions we had on the loom. This is for the indicator flashes, but the hole in this unit for putting the wire through is too narrow to put both of these wires through. So I don't know how to fix that. In theory, I could drill this out a bit larger, but then I risk damaging it, and these aren't cheap to replace, surprisingly. So I might have to think of a different solution. It's not the end of the world, but I wanted something invisible for the indicators. I didn't want something really, really obvious. And it's not very easy to actually run them in here either, because I don't want to drill the back of the bowl or anything like that. So it's going to require a bit of lateral thinking, I think, to get to the bottom of that one. Good news though, this is now all connected up and everything went in really well. This looks very similar to the photograph I saw of a car with the wiring not touched. These are the only ones I need to put in. I know 2 of these purple ones go in one socket and 1 goes in the other. And I know this is fed from the ignition, so as soon as I've figured out which one of these is suitable for that, that can go in too. This comes from the back of the car. This is that really long one down the whole chassis. And I know what these colours are for, but I don't know where they connect. there's nothing in the engine bay that they marry up to. So I'm wondering if they actually go back through the bulkhead and into the car. So the next thing to do is connect everything I can on the dashboard and then see what I've got left. The diagram's helping a lot, but it's not the entire solution. This is still not quite there. Allow me to introduce you to my currently least favourite job. Had to use this spanner, a 5/16, and it's a swan neck. That's kind of important. Then, when you're under the car, you put your arm through the gap here between the inner arch and the chassis. That then allows you to get, you can see the exhaust here, that's the sump, and that bolt there is the back of the dynamo. And there's two tiny little nuts that you have to undo to get to the wiring. I can barely fit in here, let alone get the camera in as well. It's not a job you can do from the top, and you can see yeah, that's quite a hairdo. I can't get in from the top to do it, I have to do it from underneath, and I suspect it's a bit easier to do if you actually take the dynamo off the car and do it that way. Not fun, but now I have to do the starter motor. That's much easier. Still got to be underneath the car, but yeah, that's just one wire. Another awkward section done that's impossible to film. The starter motor cable is in. Seems a little bit stiff on the lever. Not sure why. Maybe it needs a bit of oil or something. And I've got the wire in for it as well. Can't really show you much under here. It's kind of tricky. So I just have to pull this old bit of wiring off. That was just cable tied on there out of the way. I've also moved the battery cable because before this was actually touching the exhaust. Really, I think I need to put a new one of these on, but it's very long. So I'm probably going to have to get a special one made or something. For now it's okay, it's safe enough, but I would like to replace it entirely eventually. Up top we are getting a lot tidier now. With the dynamo connected and the starter motor connected down there somewhere, I'm left with this little black wire. It does seem to want to go to two places. One is the bolt there on the base of the carburettor. The other point is a little block on the inner wing here, which will also reach, which would earth to the body. So I'm not sure which way I need to go with that one. I'll figure that out later. Underneath the bonnet now, everything that I can wire up I have. There's very little that I'm not sure about. There's these wires up here, which I'll do some asking about. There's this section, which must go into the car. I can't figure out where else that actually goes, because that comes all the way from the back, and that's for lights. So I think that must go inside the car. So the next stage will be do the dashboard, and get all the old stuff stripped out and replaced with the new stuff. The trouble is I'm losing the light today, so I might have to leave that for another day. We shall see.